Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Surprise Thursday. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the Super Action Stuff Ultimate Weapons Rack. Let's get into it! Let's begin with a look at the packaging, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I did open this up and made sure all the parts were in it because this is the second one I had. So anyway, I did open it up. So it does have this nice wrap on it to keep everything sealed, but let's go ahead and just get that out of the way maybe. So there, that's out of the way now. So let's take a look at the packaging. So, the Ultimate Weapons Rack, Super Action Stuff, and there's a nice product shot of it. Weapons not included. No, they certainly were not. And so, very nice looking there. Modular display for figure accessories, and then this is modes you can put it in. And nothing on the bottom on this side. The Ultimate Weapons Rack. And some dots. And then again, how you can set the thing up. Super Action Stuff. On this side, pretty much the same, except it gives you the contents. And if you want to read all that, you can pause it there. I'm not going to run through the contents with you on the box. We'll run through that later. Super Action Stuff. And then on the back, I don't know why I flipped it back around to the front. So it's modular, includes 36 pieces. And then it gives you another rundown of it, except, well, no, it did tell you everything there. Except for the pegs. It doesn't tell you how many pegs. So easy pegboard system, and then that system, customized display, and then so you can see all the ways, or not all the ways, but some of the ways that you can customize it. And then it has a steel floor texture, like that. Warning, don't stick things in your pie hole that do not belong there. Don't give it to babies. Barcode, Happy Cat Industries LLC, made in China, ages 15 and up. That, my friends, covers the packaging. Now let's take a look at the accessory piece, because that's all it is. There's no figures to take a look at with it. And as you can see here, I don't have all the pegs laid out. There are 48 pegs. I didn't feel like laying them all out. So, you know, blame that on me being a little lazy today for this. But I didn't think you guys needed to see 48 pegs. So there's that. Now let's take a look at what does come with it. We get 2 of these like bucket shelves, and they have these pegs on them here where they peg into the pegboard, and there are 2 of those. They're exactly alike, molded in color, it looks like, so you can see some of the swirly twirlies there. Then we also have 2 shelves which peg in exactly the same, 2 pegs on the back here that peg into the ports on the board. And as you can see, you know, it's got a little bit of depth to it, but it's not deep like those bucket shelves. And again, molded in color. And you'll see swirly twirlies throughout because all of this stuff is molded in color. And again, there are 2 of those pieces. Now we've got, I want to say 8 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of these. These are the corner pieces. And as you can see, they have pegs here and pegs here where it can make a corner. And we'll get to that in a minute. It's hollow on one side. Well, not really hollow, but waffly, because it is segmented. But then you've got posts, and then posts here, and again molded in color. And next up we have, I think they call these the U-brackets. You can see they have a peg on it right here that pegs into the peg board. And then it's basically a clumpy U-shaped storage device. And again, molded in color, and there are 8 of these. And I did lay all 8 of those out. So let's get that out of the way. Then next up we have the C-clips, which again, they have the post on them, which goes in the pegboard, and it's a C-clip for storing, you know, like swords or spears, or I guess you could use that kind of stuff with it. And there are 8 of those. And then lastly we have the assembly pegs, which again are molded in this solid colored like gunmetal plastic. It's got a hole on one end and then it's solid on the other end. And there's that, and it's a peg. And there are, I want to say, 48 of those. I'll look at the box real quick, see if it says. And it does say 48, yes, 48 connector pieces it says, but they're pegs. So there's that. So let's get these out of the way. So there's, well, I missed one. So there's all that out of the way. Now let's look at the boards or the floor pieces, whichever you want it to be, and they're all the same. And you can see they're molded in color, same color as the rest of everything else. It has the diamond plating on one side, and then it has the port pieces on the other side. And you can see there's 3 ports, 3 ports, 3 ports, 3 ports along each side. I didn't count the amount of ports in here. And then so the diamond plating piece seems to be a separate piece put on, because you can see space in between it all along the sides. I'm pretty sure it's glued in there. It doesn't feel like it's gonna come out, or it's supposed to come out. So you can either use it this way or you can use it this way, you know, whatever design you're trying to go for, I suppose. So there is that, and there's several ways you can do that, and there's 8 of these pieces. So there's that. If you want to make 8 floorboards, you can do that. And let's talk about the way these things work. Now, I don't think these pegs fit in the board. The assembly pegs, they do not fit. They are slightly larger. So, and they're not super tight in there. They go in and out pretty easily. So that's how you put those in. And then you would put 3 in. To connect 2 pieces together. You just line them up. There's that. The U brackets, you know, they just kind of fit in there like that. The C brackets, pretty much the same thing. They just port right in there. The same goes with the bucket shells. Just try to, you know, make it level. And the shells are the same. So that's how all that works together. I'll pull these out real quick. Talk about the corner pieces. Now the corner pieces, you know, they can go this way where they're facing forward. You can go this way with them, so they're facing back if you're having things point, you know, that way. but they work pretty much like the peg system. They are a little bit tighter fit than that, so you can use this. And you can see there's only 2 rather than 3 posts on there, so that's the way that would work. And again, you'd pretty much do it the same way, like if you're making a corner on this side. And then I would guess that you could put one there as well to just kind of hold everything together. So that's how everything works. Next up, we'll take a look at some of the different configurations that you can do with it. Of course, I won't build those for you and waste all your time, but I'll just show you the finished products. Here's one of the configurations I really like. You know, you can have it as a big pegboard, but you can also, you know, set it up in this desk configuration. And if you have a chair to go with it, which I do have one somewhere, like an office chair, that should fit with this pretty nicely. You could also put some pieces under the bottom here if you wanted to have a floor, or you could put, there was two more pegboard pieces left that you could make it taller if you wanted, but I think this sufficed to get the point across as to what it looked like. Here's what I like to call probably the most basic configuration for it, and of course I didn't build it way out, but you can build it up to 2 wide and up to 3 tall. There's enough pieces to do that, and then you can just pop in clips and shelves and whatever, you know, so that it's a storage wall. And again, this is like the most basic configuration. So here's another pretty cool configuration for it. You can put all the diamond plating on the outside, and it's like a little shooter's box or pill box or whatever you want to call it. And you could even go a step further and put some more corner pieces on it and put a bottom in it if you wanted to. So that's a pretty cool use for it, I think. Here's another little box that they show on the instruction manual, but there's not quite enough pieces to do it properly. You would need 2 more corner pieces at least. Well, 3. Yeah, 3 more corner pieces at least to kind of do it justice, or else, you know, configure it in a little bit of a different way than what I have. Maybe I, you know, not use one of these up here, just use one up there. And anyway, there you can do another little protective type box. It can be a toll booth or a, you know, whatever you need it to be, and it's kind of cool looking. Oh, here's the final configuration that they show on the packaging, and it's okay. I don't really care for this one, but you know, to each their own. If this is something that you like, then hey, go for it. And it's got all the little, you know, the ports on the inside, and then all the diamond on the outside. So I guess it's a protective shield as well, with storage on the inside, or maybe this part is shooting range, this part is storage. I don't recommend putting those 2 things together in real life. That could lead to quite an explosive situation, but you know, this is a configuration that you can do with it if you so desire. For comparisons, we're doing something a little bit different, and first up we'll talk about how it scales up with different lines of figures. And as you can see here in the front, we have Star Wars The Black Series, Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper, and from the Marvel Legends series, making his cameo appearance, Stan the Man Lee. And so you can see kind of how they size up to that. And then next we have the Hasbro Pulse exclusive G.I. Joe Classified Series Regal variant Cobra Commander. And for 7-inch scale comparison, or 1/10 scale comparison, here from the Masters of the Universe Masterverse line, we have the 40th anniversary He-Man. So we'll get those guys out of the way, and we'll talk about kind of some of the weapons that you can fit in. And I didn't put a Star Wars Black Series on here, but I'm sure that could work as well. But here you can see I have a C-clip holding a Mythic Legions spear here. It's not very tight though. And then the same here with Awok, an Awok spear, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, in case you didn't know. Here across the top, I've got some older G.I. Joe weapons that have the posts on them. And the posts, while I don't recommend like forcing them into these ports, you know, real hard, but if you give it just a little bit of pressure, those posts will fit in there. So older G.I. Joe weapons will work as well as the newer stuff. And most of the rest of what we've got up here is the Valaverse Action Force, Crimson Shadows, Weapon Box weapons. And you can see I have one of the C-clips holding this gun, and then I have 2 of the U-brackets holding this gun, and then this gun is held by a U-bracket in the back and a C-clip in the front. And then, you know, as far as the straight shelf goes, you know, you can store knives on it, or I can't get it out now, or you know, weapon magazines can go on it. And as far as this one goes, you know, you can hang some stuff on it, and you can line up some of your pistols in there. And so that's really how that works. Is this the sturdiest stuff setting it up on these shelves? No, it's not the greatest. I would have liked this shelves to be maybe a little bit bigger, for the flat shelves at least, not necessarily the bucket shelves. But there's how it kind of compares up to some other lines. For final thoughts on the Super Action Stuff Ultimate Weapons Rack, I have to say that name for this is maybe a little bit unfair. I wouldn't say it's the Ultimate Weapons Rack, but you know, it can be so much more than just a weapons rack. And as far as it being ultimate, that's a bit of a stretch maybe. It's a pretty standard weapons rack. I guess the ultimate part comes in is that you can configure it in different ways if you need to. And I think that's a great part of this, is that your imagination and the parts that you have are the only limits to what you can do with this. Kind of like a Lego. You know, what you can do with Legos is limited by what bricks you have, and that's basically the same for this. You're limited by what pieces. Now, one of the most disappointing parts about this, and of course, you know, it says it in the description and on the box and whatnot, is that you only get 8 C-clips and 8 U-clips. And for me to really consider this an ultimate weapons rack, it needs to come with more. It needs to be able to hold more to be ultimate. So I really think that 8 C-clips and 8 U-clips are just scratching the surface. I would hope at some point maybe they offer a way where you can get just those 2 types of pieces for this, or maybe sell some of the parts individually where you can get a pack that has, you know, a couple of corners and maybe a couple of panels and some some of the connector posts, and you know, just a smaller version of this set maybe, and pack it full of clips, C clips and U clips, rather than a lot of other things. So I mean, that's and really I guess that's a nitpick more than a real problem. But honestly, I really say that it definitely should have come with more clips. So that's kind of an issue. Now, if that's not an issue for you, then hey, you know, go for it. And I'm not saying that the lack of those clips should keep you from purchasing this. That is totally not what I'm saying. That's just my opinion of it. In fact, I bought 2 of these going in knowing that, you know, the clips were going to be very limited. But I thought this would be a nice display piece for some stuff. And I also thought it would make it easier when I do reviews on just accessory packs or something like that. That these might make it easier than the last time I did one, when I used the chain link fence that I made and hung stuff on there, and that was a bit of a pain in the butt. But, you know, I mean, this piece is what it is. It can be what you want it to be. It can be a weapons rack, it can be a desk, it can be all kinds of, you know, you can excuse me. Oh, excuse me. You know, you can, if you want to pretend this is like some pegboard in a barn somewhere, you can do that. Or it could be, you know, in a warehouse somewhere where an arms dealer is trying to show off his wares. Or, you know, I mean, again, your imagination is the limit for this piece, along with the amount of pieces that you have. So I do think it's a good set. Again, I do find that the amount of clips that it comes with is a little disappointing, but again, you know that going into this purchase, because it says it right on the packaging, it says it in the description for, you know, most places where you can buy this. I picked mine up on Amazon, and I did buy 2 of them. Actually, I had 3 of them because the first one I got did not have any of the corner clips in it, and it came from the factory like that because it was sealed up, and it wasn't like new tape on it or scotch tape. You know, it was the factory tape on it, so it came from the factory like that. And it was also missing the U clips and C clips. So just make sure if you pick one of these up to count your pieces and make sure you have everything. 8 U clips, 8 C clips, 48 connector pegs, 8 corner connectors, 8 panels, 2 regular shelves, 2 bucket shelves. I think that's it. Just trying to remember right offhand what it is. But I do, you know, I like the look of this. I like that it can be configured in different ways, and that does make it different than some of the other weapon racks out there. Also, you can use this for 1/12. You can use this for 1/10 scale. You could use it for 1/18 scale, although I think that's stretching it a little bit. But, you know, Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe, Action Force, DC Multiverse, when you actually get a gun, you know, all of that stuff, it'll work well with this. Mythic Legions, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, maybe not so much those. At least the medieval bladed type weapons. Doesn't really work great with those, in my opinion. Your mileage, of course, may vary. Well, I guess I have rambled on long enough about this product. That does it for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested in supporting my channel further, I'm now offering memberships at various tiers. Click the join button on my YouTube page or check this video's description for the link and see if any membership offers are right for you, but only if you are in a position to do so. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content or just help the channel grow, or both. That's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.